Welcome to Log Time Podcast. It's been a hell of a time to be alive, so I hope you all are staying safe. To take our minds off the negatives, though, let's talk about the spring 2020 season's end and all the good shows we watched, from comedic romps through alternate worlds to drunkenly shitting on your ex on live radio. All the bases are covered. Let's get into it.
It's kind of weird to think that the spring season is over, just because with everything that happened to it and all the delays and all the just weird little hiccups here and there, it feels weird to say that it's finally actually over. Because in some ways, it still kind of feels like it never really started and never really got going.
I mean, you can even look at, Andy chart and look and see that it's, technically not over, because you look at, Appare Ranman, and it's episode 4 is going to come out in about a month. Okay,
but just, I look at that, I'm like, just fucking put it in summer 2020. That's stupid.
Put it in summer.
Just move it over. That's not even technically part of this season anymore.
Yeah, this is going to screw up a lot of databases, like AnyList and AnyChart.
When did this come out? Spring and summer.
Yeah, it's only 12 ready to see that. What do they do? This is going to literally be one of those things that we look back on and people are going to be like, what happened? And then everyone's going to be like, oh, that's right. We know what happened.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be no question.
I mean, in the grand scheme
of things. It's the weird
things,
new split core.
Yeah, it's the most mildest of mild things that happened this year. So.
Yeah. It's the weird new split core meta of seasonal splits.
New seasonal distribution method.
Yeah, you get 3 episodes out and then get the other 9 in half a year.
You know how they have the well, I was gonna say, you know how they have the rule of 3 or 4 episodes? That's what it is. They tease you, and then you gotta wait for a season.
This is kind of like the Netflix Amazon anime strike method of releasing anime. All right, we released 3, and now you gotta wait.
We have the whole thing. We've probably got the whole thing dubbed and translated, but whatever. We're just gonna sit on it.
Yeah, it definitely seems like the season had flown by, but also like it never existed.
Yeah,
so it's this weird limbo space of just whatever.
I don't fucking know, man.
It's kind of like what they say at my workplace, where it's like, what day is it? Oh, it's March 280th. It just never
We've
ended.
never moved past that day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, and I say that, but I also know full well I watched a fuckload this past season.
Oh, yeah.
Because despite the delays and everything, even though we didn't get, ReZero and Yohari and stuff like that this season, which we will in, 2 weeks, and I'm very not ready for that, there was still a metric ass load of great stuff this season.
Yeah.
Goddamn, this spring had some heavy fucking hitters. And a lot of stuff I didn't really expect to like as much as I did just really endeared themselves to me. It was a very surprising season. I was very happy with it.
Yeah, it was quite an adventure.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know, man. I'm happy to see a wide range of stuff. I didn't think I was gonna say, Eighth Son, but I watched it all the way through and fucking loved it. But also, we had some stuff that I 100% knew I was gonna like, such as Kakushigoto, and god fucking damn, Kakushigoto is hands down my anime of the season. There is little to no competition for me. It's so fucking good.
It's so weird because I think I'm gonna pull a Zack this podcast, and I'm gonna say this is the anime of the season, probably at least 2 or 3 times. And honestly, I think that's because Kakushigoto, for me, I don't know if I'd call it anything but the anime of the season. Mm-hmm. For me. It's got some strong competition, but I think the reason I say that is because it's the most solid show. I felt pretty consistent about it the whole way through. I was happy with what it did with itself, and I experienced a lot and I thought it was a solid package. And
it was such a consistent show throughout.
Yeah, it was just like, I don't want to say perfect because I don't want to like attach that label to it, but I want to say that it's very good and is probably a must watch. Like, if you like those kinds of shows, absolutely.
Yeah, I would say it's a must watch.
Yeah. And I mean, like, in some respects, I would probably say that, like, it's definitely a must watch if you like a specific brand of comedy. And I would probably say that, you know, maybe at another point in time, because I mean, like, again, this is the same dude that made the, you know, the Zetsubo Sensei series. And, you know, he has a very specific comedic style. But there's just something about Kakushigoto that is so, kind of to grab your words, Matt, so consistent about it. Week after week. It's so fucking funny in the way that it plays, you know, its whole world and whole cast of characters. Like, Goto is the biggest goddamn dweeb ever and is such a loving dad, but is also such a tremendous fucking idiot. And it's so interesting to see the brand of humor that, like, kind of mixes these wild misconceptions up with the incredible amount of, like, sincerity and honesty that these characters, like, embody, because it's such a good cast of characters. And I don't know, man, like, they play off each other so brilliantly and so well, and just, like, every single goddamn thing about this show is perfect.
Yeah, I think that was one of my favorite things about this show was that like, the cast of characters is great, but as much as it loves to joke around, it was also just so incredibly sincere about its portrayal, and that really touched me a lot. Yeah, and I think that's really what pulled this ahead for me compared to, like, some other comedy from this season.
Yeah, because, I mean, like, you know, it can do a lot of really good, like, dumb, silly goofs. But in between that, it did portray a consistent, like, really heartfelt display of, you know, the difficulties of, you know, like, being a single father, or the difficulties of just, like, raising a child in general, or of, you know, living with and trying to be the best person you can for the people that you love, and how we might go a little overboard on things like that sometimes. It's just, it's so deeply heartfelt, and it was so heart-wrenching in some episodes, you know, and I cried like an absolute baby at the end of the series. That last episode was a roller coaster ride.
Yeah. The last couple of episodes, like, so the structure of the show, even from the beginning, we kind of saw that whole, like, you know, we saw, like, this time, I don't know what you call it, time lapse, time thing, I don't know, but basically you see Hime as an 18-year-old, and you see like, then you see her as a child, and you see, like, there's two sides of the show, right?
Yeah.
You see basically the present, which is older Hime, and then the past, which is, you know, all the father-daughter stuff.
Yeah, the slice of life child Hime stuff.
Right. And throughout this entire show, you see this, like, they balanced it so perfectly. And this is why I think Kakushigoto is one of the strongest, maybe the strongest show of the season, just executed wise. Is because they built this up to such a point that they gave you little bits of the present timeline, you know, older Hime's story. They gave you bits of that, and there was a lot of, like, maybe not suspense, but there was a lot of intrigue of what the, you know, the true, like, the, not really mystery, but the secret, I guess, since the show is Kakushigoto. Of what this is, and I think they really did a good job, like, giving you the build up for that relationship to make the payoff at the end so strong. And I think that is the way that the show delivered itself was what sold it for me.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And especially for a show that would, often be categorized as just like a gag comedy sort of show.
Mm-hmm.
For it to be able to have that consistent brand of comedy, but then also not just like, not just have these kind of suspenseful moments of building this kind of mystery that like really tugs your heartstrings. Anything can do that, but it takes a really strong show to be able to effectively convey that in a way that doesn't feel like tonally dissonant to the rest of the show. And I was just so astonished consistently by how well, the more serious moments were able to be portrayed through this cast of characters. Because at no point did it feel like any kind of emotional whiplash. Like, every moment in the present timeline felt like a logical move forward. And the way that all our characters discussed the events that happened and, kind of revealed more parts of Secret, again, felt true to who they were as characters and felt true to the world that the show had developed. Mm-hmm. And so by the end of it, it really sold it to me. It really genuinely felt like they had done everything they needed to get this idea across, to get this, story across, and to make it feel powerful and impactful in some way.
Yeah, and it's not just the difference of like an emotional present compared to a comedic past, because even in the past you see a lot of moments where like you have a whole episode about Hime really wants a dog, and like it's easy to it's the show easily transitions between these comedic moments and more heartfelt ones, where it's like, oh, I don't know if we can take care of a dog, and then he may overhear something and she's like, oh, we can't take care of a dog because the mother has to take care of the dog, and like,
right,
and then you just see like,
kick me in the heart.
You just see our good boy just like break because he's like, no, don't say that, like we are still a full family even if it's just the two of us. So yeah, I was very, very impressed with how easily it was able to transition between those incredibly more heartfelt moments and also still the comedy.
Yeah. I mean, you even see some of that in the final episode where it's a lot more of the heartfelt side of it.
But even still, sorry, go ahead.
It's like, I was just going to say that, like, even in the, like, I mean, we're not, I guess we're allowed to do spoilers, right?
Yeah, it's an end of season cast.
All right.
Like,
so like in the hospital room. So like when they are like, oh no, he has amnesia. He doesn't remember anything. From the past 7 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Goto, I'm talking about. And the editor was like, wow, this is just like a manga. You can't make this shit up, folks.
Yeah, he's like, how fucking cliche can you be? He got amnesia because a pile of Shonen Jump fell on top of him? What the fuck, man?
And it was like, it's just like, if you look at it from the other point of view, like that was just a comedic moment that was so well timed that it made it work with the characters and how the show had developed itself. That it just made it felt right. I was like, yep, that's a horrible joke to make, but it fits. It tracks with the rest of the show.
It's a horrible joke to make, but I expect Tomaruin to make a joke like that.
Exactly.
And I expect him to make a joke like that even when the situation is just as awful as it is.
Because he is a horrible person.
Yes, exactly. But that's the thing. Like, it did a good job of building these characters for us to, for these decisions to track. It just made sense.
Yeah, and I also thought that it was kind of telling of the show as well that, like, not even, I want to say, like, maybe 3 minutes after that, where they're commenting on his amnesia and oh shit, and this is actually a very emotional moment. Their way of dealing with it is he's like, well, what are you guys waiting for? We need to get to work. And then they all just like bring in their manga shit and start doing a manga that they've already done 7 years ago. Because they're like, I don't know what to do, man. Let's just do it.
Yeah, and it's really bizarre and funny, but again, at the same time, it's genuinely a really heartfelt, sweet moment. Because they care about Goto, and they're like, we'll do whatever we need to make this work.
Yeah, most of
and
these
have
people
some
have
chance
gone
of getting
on.
him back.
Yeah, most of these people have gone on with their lives. They haven't. Some of them had even mentioned they hadn't even touched like pen to paper in a long ass time. But then Goto is that important to them that they're like, okay, if this is what he needs, this is what he needs. As weird and bizarre as it is.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just such a good show. Like it's just it made me feel really good afterwards. It's like it may not be like my favorite of the season and all this stuff, but at least it got me interested in the story that I was like considering, like, man, I want to read the manga, like, right. And I feel like that level, like the writing was just that solid for me, and I just felt that it was good, and that's all it needs to be sometimes.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, the manga is ending in July.
Yeah, I heard.
So
yeah, I
think they've really managed to get the entirety of this story in a 12 episode sequence without making it feel rushed. Like, I thought the pacing was perfect.
Pacing was perfect, yeah. I still am kicking myself that I slept on the manga. Even whenever I read like the first, I want to say like 6 pages, and then it was just like, moving on to something else. I'm like, damn it.
Well, we all make mistakes when we're young. It happens.
When we're young.
Oh god.
Yeah.
But yeah, I adore Kakushigoto. I would watch this again and again and again. Again, hands down, absolute favorite anime of the season. Not really a contest. There are a lot of strong contenders. I will say that.
Yeah.
But again, for me personally, nothing could touch this. Nothing could touch it.
So you would say it would be your go-to of the season?
Oh my god! Oh no, Matt!
There you go. Got it in.
Shit. Yep, there it is.
This
right.
shit needs to go to another channel on Discord.
Oh my fucking god. Please stop. Please stop. Oh, just stop. What else, guys? What else is there? Please do something.
Do something
I'm
that doesn't want to make
here.
us scream.
Well, there's always... oh, no, you go ahead. Sorry.
No. Okay, fine. We're talking about a Tome game now.
Okay.
Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, fuck yeah. Okay, so when I say that there wasn't a contest for anime of the season, this was very close for me.
Zack, you motherfucker, you do this every time.
No. I'm kidding.
This
is really fucking good, though.
This is a very good show, yeah.
This is another one where, like, I was delighted at the beginning of the season to watch this, because I know we talked about this at the beginning of the season cast, and we had a good bit of fun with the first 3 episodes, but nothing could have prepared me for when all those idiots grew up to be, like, high schoolers, and then started doing high schooler magic school shit, and I was not prepared for, again, how consistent this show was and how fucking funny it is.
Yeah.
God damn, dude.
I have to admit, I am very surprised that Baccarina lived up to her name the entire time.
Nothing makes me happier than the fact that the season ended and, like, her entire harem that she collected all essentially, like, collectively were at the point of, like, yeah, we all love her. We are all madly in love with Katarina.
But she's dumb as rocks.
Yeah, we're all in love with her. We all know everyone else is in love with her. But we all also collectively know she is never gonna understand any of it, so we're all just cool to hang.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine. Everyone's just resigned to the fact that Katarina is such a fucking sack of bricks that she will never understand any of it.
It's such a great idea of having this, like, incredibly everybody's okay with it polyamorous relationship where the one central figure doesn't even know that they're in a poly relationship.
You can't even call that a poly relationship. There's no romance there at all. She doesn't fucking know. You can't even categorize it at that. they're all fucking moron sexuals, and they just want to.
That
Like, come on.
literally, that's the only way you can frame this show.
Yeah, God, it's like
Nothing. I don't think anything hit me harder in the show that at the end they were like, "Well, this would typically be a bad end in one of these games, but you know what? This is a pretty good ending." And I was like, you know, there's a lot of truth to that statement.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, also, I love that, like, the big moment where, like, the evil girls, like, confront, and they're like, she's done all this horrible shit. She's a schemer. Literally, every single one of them is just like, there's no way she would do that. She's too dumb. It wasn't, she's too nice, or, you know, like, she's a good person on the inside. It's like, no, she's way too stupid to do that.
Yeah, because like Maria starts off by saying, you all are making all these accusations. This literally never happened to me. And then, one by one, they're like, there's no way that have you met Katarina? Do you think she could come up with half of this stuff? Fuck off, dude. She's dumb too stupid.
I love that her magic power matches that. The fact that it never got better than just, I'm gonna make a bump in the road. And every single time that she uses it, and it's just like, oh, somebody tripped. They're like, good job, honey. Good job. Okay. Yeah.
You did a great job,
you're doing your best, honey.
Love you, sweetie.
She's doing her best.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I've never seen a reverse hair. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I actually really like this as a difference from the manga that I wrote about on the blog a little bit ago, where it was...
Oh, the final boss one?
Yeah. What was the full story called? Gosh dang. Yeah, I'm a villainous daughter, so I'm going to keep the last boss. It even started the same, I'm a villainous daughter. Whereas in that one, like... she's a good person, but she is hella smart, and that's the only way she actually manages to survive. Whereas in this one, she's just so dumb, there's no way that she could be evil.
Yeah.
It's just a miracle. The show was a miracle, honestly.
It was.
It was... I knew that I could watch it, and I knew there was no way anything bad could happen.
Yeah.
And even when stuff got bad in the last, 2 episodes or so, stuff still was not that bad.
Yeah. I was like, okay, it's alright. She's got this.
Yeah. The penultimate episode did make me cry when she reunited with her best friend.
Oh, gosh, that was so good.
That hit me good. But, I mean, it was... You're right. It was... I can watch this anytime. It's gonna be fine. I'm gonna be comfy as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it, and I think that the whole twist there with the whole reverse isekai, I guess I don't even know how that fits into the genres, but whatever that little gimmick they did where they sent her back to the real world, and then there was that whole plot line there with where I guess she was in a coma or whatever.
Yeah,
but
in a deep dark magic dream.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting little thing. You don't really see that in isekai shows beyond a setup.
Yeah, you don't.
So,
you don't usually see them come back and then be like, no, I want to go back.
Yeah, it really worked in this show. I don't know if most isekai shows, they don't really have the plot elements to make it work. I don't think,
no.
Because it's I think we talked about this in Death March and others about the fantasy dynamics. They just don't work the same way.
No.
So I think that this show, though, that moment was actually really good, and I think that's probably what made the show stand out for me a whole lot.
Yeah.
Beyond all the other just Bakarina is dumb as rocks.
Yeah.
And the general bullshit.
We also had a momentary villain named Serious Dick, which just lit up my life. And I will always be grateful for that.
You'll always be grateful for that serious dick?
For that serious dick? Because, she was like, oh, You're Sirius Deke. And I was like, are you fucking shitting me? Are you kidding me? That's the name you gave for the major antagonist? Sirius Dick? Are you for real?
We're not talking about Eighth Son yet, though.
Huh?
You said, are you kidding me? Sorry.
Fuck off. Fuck off. Fuck off. Fuck off.
I don't know. All I hear you guys is talking about dicks. So I gotta come up with something.
I will say, as like a final boss type of character, I did feel like, well, they had mentioned that there was like, you know, the evil villain route, and that was like
Secret Boy.
Yeah, it was the Secret Boy, and they had stated that several times and had already made sure that we knew that was a potentiality, but like when it actually came about, and then it's like, what's your reasoning? And Secret Boy's reasoning had nothing to do with the cast or anything that they're doing. I was like, that's a little disappointing. I was kind of hoping that it would be something else, because like, for instance, whenever Katarina got lost in the dungeon, we had two moments. We had somebody that saved their lives by using wind magic, which we still don't know who that is. And then we had the evil hand that was like coming over her shoulder, and I thought that it was going to be something like super clever, like, you know, she forced out the evil villainess, and so the evil villainess is like, you motherfucker, I want my body back, and like tries to get it back, but nothing like that ever happened.
Okay, well, we are getting a second season.
I did see that, yeah.
Yeah, there's that. Also, I feel like to just address both points real quick. One, the arc that comes out of nowhere with the Secret Boy. I feel like a lot of these kinds of like romance games, they do this with a secret route when they have one.
It is true. It's kind of a tacked on thing.
It's completely like just off the rails. Like it's just like nothing with the rest of the story. Because usually you have to do like all the other routes first, or you gotta, do some stupid shit to get to it, and it's just like
it's a very specific series of choices.
Yeah.
So that's that, and then the wind thing. Like I always just thought it was just like the spirit of the magician dude that they talked about.
I thought that was it too.
I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe I definitely was reading 4 levels deep, because I was like, because family wise, like only people of the same family have the same magic. So I was thinking maybe it's the spirit of, because her best friend also gets isekai'd into this universe. So I was like, maybe it's the spirit of the person that she took over, and she's just a good person trying to keep him alive. And I'm like, I don't know.
Dude, you're playing 4D chess, and Katarina can't even tell you what the pieces are called.
I was
like, relax.
I'm like watching this, and in my head is just like 6 Katarinas go like, all right, meeting 273. Let's figure this out.
That's literally what you did. You galaxy brained it way too hard.
Yep.
No, to go off of that though, I did think that having 2 people like semi isekai was kind of interesting. Having the Sophia doing
the
that.
best friend.
I thought it was very
Weird.
sweet.
It was very interesting. I would have liked to have seen that, like, maybe fleshed out a little more to understand that, but, like, whatever.
Right, because her best friend, by the end of it, actually kind of understands that she was isekai'd. And she also understands that Katarina was her friend from the past self, but Katarina don't know shit. But Katarina's never going to know shit.
That's true.
But I did think that was a very sweet mention of just like forever those two will be fated to be friends with each other. And I'm like, man, that's real nice. I like that.
This is a good show.
It is. It's very fucking good.
It's very fucking good, and I
highly recommend it. Yeah,
I'm stoked to see what the fuck happens in the sequel, because she already covered everything that happened in the game, so the sky's the fucking limit at this point.
Yeah, it's gonna get insane. Probably, it's gonna be wonderful.
Yeah, I'm ready for absolute batshit.
Off the rails.
Oh
man. So speaking of off the rails, I don't even know where to go from here.
I was gonna say, like, I was expecting you to say, like, any of, like, maybe 5 other series, because so much other shit went totally off the rails this season.
There's...
I mean, There's every single episode ever of Wave Listen to Me.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It is such a good show. But every single episode was just like, where the fuck is this going again? Like at one point, one of my favorite parts is like, on a whim, they decide to do a like fake, like our radio station got hacked shit. And so like she just pretends to be a serial killer that's just so happy she killed her lover. As a serial killer gets really fucking creeped out because she's about to kill her lover.
Yeah,
it's like so bonkers.
I watched this show, and I watched Minare and the rest of the gang just do all this stupid radio shit.
Yeah.
And I was honestly just sitting here and wishing, like, God damn, I wish that there was, like, some kind of radio program like that in my general vicinity. I would religiously tune into that.
Oh, yeah. That's just so bonkers crazy. It never really does the same thing.
Yeah. It's, like, it's a fun central conceit of her doing radio stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I genuinely like all the different radio segments, but I think I was most consistently enthralled by Wave Listen to Me in terms of how the cast at large interacted with each other and kind of like grew around one another.
Yes.
It has such a strong cast of characters that are all, you know, growing in their own interesting, distinct ways. And with that in mind, it's fascinating to me how little Minare grows throughout the entirety of this whole fucking season. Like how static she is.
It is interesting though.
In some ways.
Yeah, I was gonna say it is interesting though, because by the end of it, she like openly says on mic, she's like, "I realize how static I've been, and I'm sorry." So. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really nice of her by the end of it growing at least a little bit.
Yeah, because I mean, like, in a lot of ways, I think Minare is a fantastic character because as, like, an upper mid 20-something with, like, not much of a job in that sense and, you know, not really understanding what the fuck she wants to do with her life, like, I get that. And yeah. I identify with that a lot.
Yeah,
super you know, this hard. Feeling of just being in this weird, you know, unmoving liminal space, and just feeling kind of stuck or weird, and just trying to make the most of whatever situation you've got, even if that is just screaming your troubles into a microphone at a radio station at 3 a.m. But I think it's really interesting to see the amount of development she undergoes, especially with her relationship to her ex-boyfriend Mitsuo.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah, the whole episode where he calls her up and, you know, they go on a date together, and then she kind of feels herself slowly falling for him again, and she, you know, she kind of talks about, look, I know he's a fucking idiot, and I know he's a sack of shit, but there's something about me that, you know, I can't help but want to care for this fucking idiot, even though he's an awful person. And then, you know, her finally, you know, fucking suplexing him and putting him in a neck brace.
Oh my gosh. Even in the manga, the suplex was just so well done on the panels.
So good.
It was so good.
It was pretty interestingly animated. Like, I thought that was just like, wow, like that was really smooth. Yeah. I really didn't know what to think after that. I was just like, all right, well, I knew this anime was crazy, but I guess anything can happen.
Yeah.
So
I think that's one of the most interesting things about the series to me, though. Like, I mean, I like the characters and everything else, but one of the biggest draws for me consistently is the art style and the way that this is animated and just the whole aesthetic of it. Like, the music is fantastic. The sound direction is perfection, which, I mean, it's a show about radio, so...
Yeah, I mean, they even later on in the series just start having arguments about DAWs at the sound studio, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is me. It's speaking to me.
Yeah. It's just...
I mean...
It's... Oh, sorry, go
Oh,
ahead.
I was just gonna say there was that whole episode with the sound guys too. That was just like, wow, sound effects are interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
It's that same episode where they start arguing about DAWs, and it was after they do all the Foley, and I'm like, oh, it's so good.
Yeah, just like, I mean, all the like the little slide whistle, and like, this is for making, you know, realistic ghost sounds and things like that.
Yeah.
It was just it's very fun, and I think it's a really interesting show.
The characters carry this, I think.
They really do, because like story wise, there's not a lot that really goes on. It's more just like, you know, a situational kind of thing. It's like, what different scenarios can we put our characters into?
Right. It's about as spastic as our main character is. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, we did get some, you know, from our supporting cast, we had some good development in like our supporting female leads.
Yeah.
Like Tachibana, you know, it was interesting to see her develop from, you know, this woman that was working at Voyager, you know, because her brother hit the manager in a car accident, going from being that submissive kind of role to her like standing up to this, you know,
her abusive
older brother figure. Yeah, and to find out that she's actually this incredible comedic, you know, character who has been submitting a lot of stuff to this other radio show. And it was also really nice seeing Mizuho, you know, Minare's roommate, foster these inner desires to be like a radio director and to sponsor her own, you know, portion of a radio program. And it was really cool to see them grow over the span of the series.
Gosh, it was so nice.
Just, like, incrementally a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's also very nice that none of the main cast are necessarily like a particular trope. They all just like feel like real human beings, and they're just messy in that way.
Yeah.
And I
they're all
very much
their own people.
I also will always love Kanetsuga Matoi, the director of the radio show, and how much of a fucking slimy dude he is.
Yeah, like Mato's kind of a douche, but I love him.
He's the kind that he's the kind that like is on your side and you like him for being there. Cause like best example is like whenever Minare was going to use the recorder in order to record her boyfriend and like and dox him with all of his information, and his only response whenever he took it back was, "You can't dox him. That's not why I'm giving this to you." It wasn't you shouldn't blackmail your boyfriend. It was, you just can't do it for doxing. You got to do something else.
Yeah, it's like, that's illegal. We're not going to do that on our radio program and lose this. No.
And yet at the same time he fully allowed her to use it to record her boyfriend and get back at him.
Oh yeah, like, so they could like completely manipulate his voice and make a new conversation. Yeah. The last episode was fantastic, and like part of me throughout the series was kind of like, man, I wish we would see a little more development out of Minare, because after a point it was a little annoying and frustrating to kind of see how consistently shitty of a person she was. And so kind of that last, you know, moment of the drama where she ad-libbed the whole thing, where she ad-libbed that whole apology to basically everyone that she had wronged up until that point. It was a very nice moment of reflection and introspection on her part.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, it still leaves a lot of room for her to be the really messy, just absolute goblin person she is. And that in and of itself is heartening to me, because that's part of what drew me to the show so much in the first place.
Oh,
She's
absolutely.
such a fucking gremlin. But like, it's really interesting to watch her and watch her develop as a person.
Yeah, as much as I love all the other characters, it was pretty much her that had me just absolutely flipping through every single chapter whenever I first picked this up as the manga. Because I was like, this fucking gremlin, what is she going to do next?
Yeah.
And I very much like that the show, like, her own villain is very much herself, which is just case in point whenever she leaves a bunch of meat underneath her apartment.
Yeah.
And the guy underneath her just thinks that he's being haunted, and then she ends up finding out that it was just all her fault in the first place. And she has to make a public apology, and he even writes down on a note, he's like, fine, I'll drop the charges.
Yeah, there's several segments of this show where I was just watching it, and I was just like, I honestly have no idea what's going to happen. There was no level of predictability in what was happening, and I was just like, I guess I just gotta go with it. Because
I did find it very funny during that arc. I remember I saw one of the comments on, this was a Funimation show. Yeah. On Funimation, there was one of the comments during that arc where, like, the meat's melting into the dude's apartment. One of the comments said, I have no idea what's going on. All I know is that it's probably Minori's fault.
that's pretty much the show.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you're not wrong there.
That comment just nailed the show right there.
So good.
Yeah, no, that's it. We don't even have to talk anymore. Just print it, boys. We're done. That's it.
Such a great show. I would absolutely be down to watching, like, a second season of this. But gosh, it was just such a unique thing, and I loved it very much for it.
Yeah, all things considered, like, this show is like this is another one from this season that is, like, almost perfect to me. Like, it is almost perfect. I could do without some of the consistent, like, casual homophobia they have. Where, like,
that part I didn't like.
Yeah, like, the one gay character they have, they just make consistent jokes about how he's a sexual predator, and I'm like, maybe not, guys. But I mean, like, aside from that, if you are able to put that aside, this show is pretty consistently, like, beat for beat, almost fucking perfect.
Yeah.
It is refreshing to watch. It's very unlike anything else that I've seen in recent years. It is so very much its own thing, and I love it for that. Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah, it was rather interesting. I'm glad I watched it. I don't know if I garner the same level of, like, enjoyment or, like, I don't know, enthusiasm that you guys do, but I definitely understand where it's coming from. So,
yeah,
there's that.
It's for sure a different strokes for different folks kind of thing, because I can 100% understand why some folks would not be super into this show for a variety of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know that there were some people that, you know, kind of dropped the show because they hated how static and just how fucking much of a shit Minare was, and they're like, I really don't want to do this. I'm gonna pass. But yeah, you know, some folks are gonna like it, some folks aren't, and that's just how it is.
Yeah. I'm glad I watched it, but I could definitely take it or leave it, I think.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know, it's whatever, though.
It is for sure an experience.
It was an experience. This is the one time I feel like I can say it was an experience, and I feel like it's very true to the show.
Okay, well, I can also say that another show from this season is definitely just an experience, and I would say that of Brand New Animal.
Yeah,
because it's a show. I will confidently say that it is a show done by Studio Trigger.
That's pretty much what I got out of
it. So, like,
I still need to watch it, and I'm so sad that you're telling me this.
Okay, well, so here's the thing. What you're probably going to get out of this is that you don't need to watch this show. Matt, would you agree?
I mean, yeah. I don't feel very strongly towards it at all.
Yeah.
Like,
so here's the thing. Like, it's hard to look at a work that Studio Trigger has done like just on its own merits without looking at it as like part of Trigger's larger body of work. Right. I feel like for them as a studio, it's kind of impossible to separate, you know, the thing itself from them as a studio. And after having watched some of their more recent stuff, like Promare fucking kicked ass. Promare like put me in the dirt and like made me say yes please again one more time, and it was just it's one of the best things I've seen in a very long time. Fucking fantastic. But like Brand New Animal, I don't know, man. Like, I would say that I had some high hopes for it because in concept it looked kind of interesting. I had also, when I saw it, had just recently finished watching Beastars, so I was, you know, kind of off that high of like, fuck yeah, dude, anthropomorphic animals doing cool shit. Let's see more of it.
Oof.
It's not really... Go for it.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I was wondering how someone that's watched Beastars would feel about this, because I don't know, I didn't watch a lot of Beastars, but I don't know, I felt like it was similar.
So here's the thing. I would not say that this is similar to Beastars in any way other than the fact that it's anthropomorphic, you know, animals. Because the central conceit of Beastars is that everyone is an animal in that world. Like, that's just the thing. Mm-hmm. But, like, with Beastars, you have the humans... in Brand New Animal, you have the Beastars... Fuck me! Oh my god! Okay,
all right.
Shush. Shut up.
I can't laugh.
Give me one more time.
You got this.
In Brand New Animal, you have the humans, and you have the Beastmen. And they are two separate, like, species of creature.
Yeah.
And so, you know, where the central conflict in Beastars is, like, all revolved around, you know, the nature of animals and how a society of, you know, sentient, intelligent animals would develop, it's entirely different from B&A, because, you know, it's a completely different conflict, because it's humans being prejudiced against beastmen just because they're inherently different, like, species-wise. It's not like they're all acting against animal nature. It's that, you know, humans are like, y'all are beastmen. You're just different, so we're gonna just be shitty about it. And...
yeah, I don't know. It really didn't rub me the right way. When the show, like, from the first episode, I would almost say, I looked at it and I was just like, ugh.
Yeah, like, so here's the thing. When you're working with a show like this, where you are working off of this central conceit of one whole group of people or beings is being oppressed by another group, yeah, I think that you have a pretty large space to have some interesting discussions about real world issues by maybe using metaphor or by, you know, showing similarities between current world conditions and, you know, this world that you're developing now. And there were parts throughout Brand New Animal where I felt like they were actually going to do something. So, for instance, our main character, Michiru, the Tanuki girl, you know, she is caught up in some issue where she's trying to she got her wallet stolen, and she went off to some shady area of animosity, or animosity. It's animosity. That's how they kept pronouncing it. And I was like, that's weird. But she went off to this shady part of the city to get it back. And, you know, she ran into this, you know, all-woman Yakuza group, essentially. And they're like, okay, here, teach these kids to read and write, and we'll give you your wallet back. And then some other human-adjacent backed Yakuza group came in and was like, hey, we need money. Y'all don't have money, so go ahead and sell those kids. And, you know, Beastmen, women group are like, yeah, okay, whatever. And they got stopped, by our big old fucking wolf social services worker. But as they were kind of carting all of the Beast women Yakuza members off, the head woman said something like, oh, wow, yeah, Michiru, you definitely are not just a natural-born beast man. Because if you were, you would understand some of the difficulties of being a woman in a beast man world. And I was like, oh, are we gonna get some interesting discussion on, like, gender politics into all this? And then it was never touched on again for the rest of the series, and it was never an actual, like, substantial plot point. It was just like a throwaway line that had nothing to do with any development of the world or anything else. And that was kind of frustrating. And throughout the rest of the series, it just kind of felt like we got thrown these little tiny scraps with, like, the promise of a discussion of something larger, and then nothing fucking happens. Am I right? Like,
yeah, no, you're totally
right.
right. I was thinking the exact same thing. Like, there were so many times in the show that I was looking and I'm like, this is almost a discussion. But they I felt like they were, like, going, like, for example, okay, so you have, like, a trail of, like you're on a path of telling a complete story. Yes. And I feel like they, like, stopped, like, 2 miles before they got to the destination. And they were just like, I don't know if they wanted, like, maybe this is one of those complicated things where I'm like, I'm not sure if they wanted, like, because I don't know, like, is it like one of those things where they wanted, like, the viewers to kind of put the pieces together, or, like, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't seem like, I felt like there needed to be more, like, that would make more sense though if there were more, like, consistent, like, plot points, I guess.
Yeah.
It felt like they really had this interesting world.
Yeah.
And they had a lot of, like, really interesting plot threads, but had, like, almost no way of putting them together.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way I felt about it.
It felt very unfocused throughout. And I mean, like, to some degree, like, that's kind of, in some ways, it triggers MO for some shows. Like, you can make the argument that Kill la Kill is a really spastic kind of show and goes all over the place, but at least Kill la Kill has a consistent through line for its story. And even if you have some, like, dumb, more throwaway-ish episodes, they're still building to a larger plot development. Whereas in Brand New Animal, I mean, it felt as though, the central conflict is ultimately, can beastmen and humans coexist? And it felt like we didn't really get any honest discussion of that until maybe the last, like, 2 episodes, and even then it felt like it never actually approached the central argument there. Because when we got to the weird fucking third act, because, trigger shows always have some wild fucking third act where it comes out of fucking nowhere, there was that whole point where the president of the pharmaceutical company, Sylvasta,
Mm-hmm.
Was, secretly making this vaccine, this serum, to turn beastmen just back into humans, and or to turn beastmen into humans. And he was coming from it like, well, I mean, like, if beastmen get really stressed out, they'll just go rampage. And I'm like, okay, now hold on a second. That's an interesting point for you to bring up, Trigger. What do you mean exactly? And I thought for a time the way that they were framing it was that Sylvester, the pharmaceutical company, had been, like, doing some weird clinical trials to, like, make beastmen rage and just go wild. And so I was with it up to that point because I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna try to cause this, race or species war by, trying to make it seem like this whole other group, the beastmen, are just, inherently dangerous, as an other kind of, sentient species.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, that's some weird, mad scientist shit. All right. But then when it revealed that it was just like, oh no, that's just how beastmen are. If they get really stressed out, they'll just fucking kill each other and just like go nuts. And I'm like,
oh my god.
Hold on. Wait, pump the brakes. Hold up.
It's like,
what are you trying to say here?
It's like somebody saw Zootopia and the entire thing about Zootopia where it's like, oh, carnivores are evil. They'll just kill anything. And then they just missed the ending where they're like, oh, they were being forced to because of a drug. Or maybe they just read it wrong. And they're like, they just didn't get the message about race in it. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like they were like, oh, Zootopia is really cool. And then they just didn't quite get the message.
I mean, like, maybe at this point, but honestly, the way that everything was put together in this show, I don't even feel like I would give them enough credit to say they tried to do something political about this show. Like, I think they just tried to tell a story and didn't do it terribly well at this point, honestly. Because, like, I don't fucking know, man. Best part of the whole goddamn series was episode 4, where they played killer baseball with a team of bears from the slums, and Winnie the Pooh was their umpire, and he got obliterated.
Are you fucking serious? Oh shit!
They literally said, "Our pitcher, Winnie the Pooh."
Fuck! I at least got to see that part.
Yeah, the baseball episode, totally worth watching, but it feels so weird to say this, but like I really don't think Brand New Animals is worth watching. Because, like, there's some compelling stuff in it, but the story doesn't really feel like it goes anywhere. Michiru as a protagonist is fucking insufferable. Like, I personally just could not stand her.
Oh, really? I mean, I couldn't either, but I thought that was just because I have, like, I don't know. I don't really like a lot of Trigger shows, so I thought it was just me, honestly.
No, like, Michiru is just not a good protagonist, I don't think, because, like, for a show that seems to try to be nuanced about, like, prejudice and, not taking people and things at face value, she does a whole lot of that, and then doesn't really learn from it throughout the series, and I'm just like, you're just really fucking annoying and spastic, and you don't really do much of anything for this series. Like, I would have just watched a whole show just about, our white wolf boy, Shiro Ogami.
Yeah,
he's fucking great. I would happily watch stuff just about him, but I don't know, man. There were a lot of moving parts in this show, and they just did not mesh together like they should have.
Here's two things that Trigger does not do well: nuance, and mostly writing in general.
That's probably why I don't like a lot of their shows.
Like, one of their most well-written shows was written by somebody that was not a part of Trigger.
Oh, you talked about Kisniver?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the only Trigger show I like.
Like,
I was gonna say, Kisniver's really well written.
They are insanely good at animation and colors in various different things and artistry, and they're very good at gags as well in their shows. But they just are not great at a nuanced story. That is their bane. That is the bane of their existence.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think they can do some individually, like, smaller nuanced things, but nuance kind of feels like the antithesis of Trigger as a studio.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they're the studio that, I mean, if you, again, to go back to Promare, in the middle of a giant mech fight, like, they have this big name label of just, like, introducing this one mech, and then, the next scene rolls around, and that big block of text is just, like, somewhere in the background of the thing as, like, a physical object.
Yeah.
They named a mech the Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, no.
Like,
yeah, that was the
they
name
don't
of the
fucking
mech.
care about nuance. They're just here to have a good time.
Yeah. I think they need to focus on that. And honestly, I think that's what makes Trigger a Trigger, right? Like,
Or if they're going to do a show that has nuance writing, hire somebody outside the company.
yeah, maybe get another writer. That worked before.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. But again, I would even say Kill la Kill has some nuance and interest in its
I would
writing.
say
It
so
does.
too. I would
yeah,
say
and,
because
and
probably one
Little
of
Witch
my
Academia, like in some episodes.
Well, I didn't hear half of what you said.
Oh, I was gonna say Little Witch Academia in like some episodes of it.
I didn't watch
even
that.
watch the series because it was in Netflix jail and I just forgot about it. The
Yeah.
movie's great though. But I mean, like, Kill la Kill as a series, even though, you know, it's got some goofy Inferno Cop animation and it's really fucking funny, it also does have a really consistently sincere message about, you know, loving yourself and being comfortable in your own body and your own skin.
Yeah.
And they don't, like, directly come out and slam you with that message. Like, it is an undercurrent, nuanced message. So, like, they're clearly capable of doing, you know, strong storytelling. This BNA was just not one of them.
Sad. Unfortunate.
I mean, like, yeah, you can watch it if you want, but like, I don't. I mean, I couldn't really tell you what I got out of it.
The animation was cool, but I mean,
Yeah, it's a
There's
very
that.
pretty show. It's got some interestingly choreographed sequences. It's very pretty, but like that's. You can go on Sakagaburu for that or something. I don't know.
Well, I'm at least looking forward to one of their next shows. I mean, they're doing Crescent Rise, but like the show after that has me intrigued because it's a 10-episode series based on Cyberpunk 2077. And
Oh,
I'm here for that. Trigger and Cyberpunk sounds perfect.
It does sound like a perfect match for them, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I can dig that.
we'll see.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it remains to be seen. We'll find out. They're pretty hit or miss these days.
Not to undermine Trigger, I'm just not. They're not for me. I've learned over time that a lot of people like Trigger. I don't like Trigger. Sorry.
Hey, nothing wrong with that, bud.
Yeah, that's fine.
Different strokes for different folks, man. I get it.
Yeah.
I do know that what you do like are melodramas and romantic shows.
I like to think that I'm a melodramatic person. Maybe.
Well, I don't think you're
melodramatic.
I don't think you're a melodramatic person. No. Like,
I think
don't
you
expect
swing
you to
between
do
dramatic
any,
and super comedic.
yeah, like I don't expect you to do some like prime time like soap opera shit. I would not say that.
You're more of a drom-com than you are a melodrama.
Well, that's good. I appreciate that.
Yeah, drom-com with a side of tears.
Yeah. That's accurate.
Yeah.
So which show are we talking about?
Well,
Matt,
left
it's
to talk about our Kaguya-sama and Sing Yesterday to me, so I'll give you a minute to think about it.
Well,
No. I think you got that wrong. I believe it's called Sing Listen to Me.
Okay.
Stop. Okay.
Look. Okay. Two things. One, you made the same mistake. Two, Zack, you totally just butchered the opening to Brand New Animal by mixing B-stars with blah blah blah. So
I wasn't making a
comments.
goof about it. Kyle was making the goof about it. I was willing to let it slide.
Yeah, I'm
I
just
wasn't even
teasing
going to
you.
talk about it.
Okay. So anyway, let's talk about Sing Yesterday to Me since we're already here. It's actually Sing Yesterday for me. I got this.
You got it. Yeah, you
yes,
got
you
it.
did. It is Sing Yesterday for me.
Okay, let's talk about this show because
Yeah.
this. Wow. Okay, so let me let me start out by
Ooh,
saying I don't know what happened, but that was a show that I was literally screaming at my monitor for all of the reasons I didn't think I was going to be screaming at my monitor.
Ooh, okay. So I'm very interested to hear about this.
So, okay. All right. I'm going to state this up front. And there's probably going to be people out there that don't, like, we'll get into this, but I'm sure. But I could not stand, like, the middle segment of this story from, like, episodes, like, 8 to, like, 11 pissed me off.
It got
like
pretty
a lot
rough there. Yeah.
There was a lot of people shuffling their feet rather than moving forward.
I'm
not going to name names, but Shinako.
Yeah. I don't even know. Like, I mean, I do know. So, Shinako, I can't even, like, I can't even believe, like, the amount of not development that there was.
Uh-huh.
Like, I literally was watching Rikuo and Shinako. I was watching them. And I was like, guys, talk. Do something. Please.
Yeah.
This is not healthy.
No, it's not. And I mean, like, at least to Rikuo's credit, we could see a trajectory of character development from, like, episode 1 up to that point. Because this boy had gone through some shit and had some self-reflection, and he, I would say, strongly developed as a character. But, like, man, around the halfway point, because, like, and just correct me if I'm wrong or if I was in a fucking fever dream, but I swear to God there was an episode where Shinako, like, gathered up all of, you know, tragic dead love interests stuff and, like, wished him goodbye. Like, that happened, right?
That happened.
Yeah.
That was an episode that happened. I don't remember if it was 5 or if it was 6, but it was there.
Yeah. And then she just, after that, still continued to just be hung up on that. And, like, so I'm not going to sit here and say, like, oh, you know, someone that you really love died. Like, get the fuck over it. But, like, okay, like, that was a long fucking time ago. Yes? Like, that was a while ago. Like she was...
Like, what part do you mean was a while ago? Like, the death?
Well, I mean, she was in high school when the death happened, and now she's even past college, graduated, and moved on.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember. Was it Ko? I don't know. It was Ro's brother.
Yeah, I think it was Ko.
Yeah, I think. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's the right name.
We'll just
You're
say
talking
Ko.
about the right person.
Yeah, because, like, Ko died, like, a long fucking time ago. And, like, I understand that there's a lot of trauma and grief and everything that people have to go through when they lose someone near and dear to them. Like, I fully understand that. But, like, at some point, you know, you're a mid-20s aged working woman who's a whole-ass adult. Like, at some point, you gotta stop just thinking about this boy that you loved in high school. Like,
yeah,
at some point you have to move past that. And it was just frustrating to me to see that, kind of like you said, Matt, there was no development for her as a character whatsoever, because I feel like Shinako could be a character that has a lot of interesting layers and levels to her as a character, and what she ultimately ends up as is, well, I was in love with this boy in high school, and I didn't get over him, but now I got over him and I'm in love with his younger brother. And
the thing about it for me is that that last part, what you just said about her falling in love with his younger brother, that's never, like, that doesn't happen until, I mean, it's one of those things that, like, you can see where the story's going, obviously, in the show, but the characters can't see where the story's going.
Yep.
And I think that was pretty frustrating as well. But the thing is that, I don't know, it's like she knew that, but she also didn't know that, or didn't want to acknowledge that.
Yeah,
she didn't want
that's
to
it.
acknowledge it. Yeah.
And I don't like. I'm not understand. It's hard. I'm trying like. So in these kinds of shows, I try to like understand what the character is going through to try and process it.
Yes.
Like process it emotionally, like myself. But it was so hard to do that for her because, like, I didn't think, and this is gonna sound dumb, but I'm not sure if this is an entirely like. I mean, it's a story. It doesn't have to be realistic, but it wasn't even like I couldn't suspend the disbelief in my mind that could happen.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying that it can't
Yeah.
happen, but it's hard for me to invest an emotion in a character that I can't relate to.
No, I agree entirely. And I think that it is just, again, it is absolutely wild that for a woman that is, like, as intelligent and as, well-rounded and as interestingly developed as Shinako is, like, it just seems baffling to me that she would be so hung up on this character. And like the thing is, I could understand it if like there was some deeper connection between Shinako and Ko, because from what I've gathered, it's just that they were family friends, and then she just kind of fell in love with him, and like that was it, and she watched him die. And like, yes, again, that's traumatic. I understand that, but like, it wasn't even that he was in love with her either. It was a completely one-sided thing. Like, there was no actual romantic connection there. And yeah, Matt, like I agree. It's hard for me to suspend my disbelief and look and say, yeah, that's a totally legit character, when like I'm sure there's someone out there that has experienced something like this and probably reacted the way Shinako did or does, and like it's perfectly fine to process things that way, but it just seems it's so frustrating when every other character seems to have development through leaps and bounds beyond her, and she's just stuck in place. And
So here's the thing. I think I know what Kyle's about to say. So seeing Yesterday to me, like, okay, I think it's a very complicated story with a lot of characters that there's a lot of toxicity going on.
You came close, Matt. But what I was going to mention is, as part of that toxicity, one of the characters that didn't really develop was Ro. He never developed, and he was constantly on Shinako being like, "What, you like that guy? Well, I guess you don't care about me or my brother." It's just like running away, and then it's like, this fucking, like, after a certain point I was like, dude, shut the fuck up, you little dick. Like, you're being so manipulative about a woman that's in grief. Fuck you.
Okay, and I understand where you're coming from, and I like,
well, hang on, let me finish.
I get it.
Let me finish.
Uh-huh.
But even with that, Shinako should have gotten over it. She really should have. But she also should have dumped his fucking ass. He was an asshole.
Yeah. One, Shinako should have been pretty solid about. I'm a whole ass adult woman, and you're a high school boy. This is not a thing.
Yeah.
And this will not be a thing.
Yeah.
She should have shut that down. But also, and this is not a defense of Ro or anything like that, but what I'm saying is, I get it, and that tracked for his character, because he was like a 17-year-old boy. Like, of course he's going to be really
punk.
Shitty. Okay,
yeah.
He's like a teenage boy in the 1990s, and a teenage boy in the 1990s who has a fucking safety pin earring. Okay? Like, that is primo edgelord. Of course he's going to act like that. Like, that makes sense to me. And so, like, I mean, yeah, I was mad at him, but I was like, I expect you to act that way.
Yeah, I expect you to be dumb.
Shit.
But that also leads into why Shinako didn't really necessarily have, like, a leg to stand on when it came to that, because she never should have taken him seriously in the first place. Like, and not even from a relationship point perspective, but anytime that he's like, I hate you, you don't love me, and then, like, runs away, she'd be like, fucking bitch, okay, yeah, I'm, like, 27, why the fuck do I care? Like,
and I mean, like, it's obviously a complicated situation because, like, he is, like, her last bit of family, quote unquote.
Right.
And I understand that it's difficult to navigate something like that. But at the same time, I mean, she has an obligation to stamp that shit out.
she does.
And there are ways to do that without, being shitty about it. You can do that.
Yeah.
And, I again, it all just kind of comes back to, for me, like, I really think Shinako could have been a genuinely interesting character, but she got zero fucking development.
Which is really
It's
unfortunate.
frustrating.
Yeah.
So-
Especially when you see a lot of the other characters and they're, like, doing so well. To be fair, Riku also is kind of an idiot whenever it comes to shuffling his feet, because he was just willing to shuffle his feet with her that entire time. Like, just be like, well, I guess we're just gonna meander for a bit.
Yeah, so this story is so complicated because there's a lot going on, and I think he wasn't making the right choices either.
He wasn't. No. Yeah.
But I appreciate that he was trying to, like, I think as Zach said earlier, he was growing out of it. Like,
Yes.
he was trying to better himself as a person, like, trying to do that. But it looks like he was so hung up on this relationship, or this idealization of a relationship.
Very good way of putting it, yeah.
With Shinako. And I think he wasn't really sure. I think he I was trying so hard to understand, like, what that was like for him. And it's like getting into that spot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, I'm happy. Question mark. There's that question mark that you're like, I am happy, right? Like, you always are asking yourself that, and then you eventually reason with yourself, yes, I'm happy in this scenario. And then I feel like at that point it's one of those things, and I guess this is what made him realize in the end, is that if you're asking yourself that question enough, you gotta at some point ask yourself, why am I asking that question so many times?
Right. And I thought that was a wonderful end to his relationship with Shinako, is this amicable idea of, like, we idolized this, but once it actually got started, we realized, yeah, this isn't what we wanted. And I was like, okay, great, wonderful, and I love that we got there. But yeah, definitely that middle part is a little aggravating.
Yeah, like,
but that ending to the relationship was great. I loved that.
Yeah, that
when
was
it finally
perfect.
came together. Yeah,
like, yeah. I had no issues with that once it was over.
Gosh,
not just
that was
because
good.
I was glad it was over.
It made sense for that.
But I was like,
Yeah.
you know what? That's perfect. You just nailed something right there. Like, because I think, like, it was agonizing to watch, and maybe that was kind of the intent, but it hurt a lot.
Uh-huh.
Matt, are you saying that they endless ate us?
I don't think it was necessarily like that, but it was similar. Except it was it was more emotional and not
It was
like a physical.
It was an emotional endless ate instead of a physical just get on with it.
Yeah, it was actually worse. I feel like, for me, like, I would rather watch the endless eight than go through that again. Because that was so agonizing. Because I was like, there was the whole thing with, like, Haru, like, where he runs into her, and, like, I don't know, it was like episode 8 or 9 where she runs into him and Shinako coming out of one of their apartments.
And she figures it out, and she just fucking...
And I was like, oh my
dies.
gosh, no. And I understand, like, there's parts of Haru, like, I don't think that relationship is fully healthy either, but it was definitely more healthy than whatever the hell was going on there.
That was the most astonishing revelation to me for the series, was that, by the end of it, I was like, holy fucking shit. Haru and Rikuo are better together than Rikuo and Shinako are together. That's astonishing to me. Because I super was not on board with it at the start, but
I wasn't either.
the more we saw the characters unfold, the more I was like, oh, no, they're really alike.
Yeah.
And I think that they are really made for each other at this point.
Yeah, it's very interesting because you initially see Riku and you're like, oh, okay, he's just kind of like the silent, solitary dude, and then you see Haru and you're like, okay, you're the like flirty girl next door character. Okay, fine. But then like as they actually develop as characters, you start to realize, oh, actually, they're really good for each other, and they've both grown up a bit.
Yeah,
you're like,
they
okay, cool.
They have a dynamic that really plays off of each other really well. It's like I'm going to describe it as like a back and forth sort of thing. Like,
yeah.
And I think that like it felt like a dynamic. It felt like something that was like, wow, like I guess this is probably what when people say the chemistry is good, I think it's something like that. Mm-hmm. Right? Like,
yeah.
So I think that was a revelation to me though. Like by the end of the show, I was like, wow, I see it. Like I'd never seen it before in my life. I was like, wow. Like, I felt like I had experienced something from seeing Shinako and Rikuo together, and I had suddenly become this whole new person. I got it. I was like, wow.
It was just it was so nice to see these characters actually move towards the future and actually move on, because I mean, like, obviously with a title like Sing Yesterday for me and looking at all the characters we have here, all of them are hung up on the past in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like Shiniko's obviously held up on her old flame. Ro is held up on this past idealization of Shinako that he's held on to. Rikuo is held on to his past in general, but also a idealization of Shinako. Yeah. Haru's literally in love with Rikuo because she saw him fucking drop a bus ticket once, and she fell in love with him. Like, what the fuck's up with that? But
sometimes you just get real thirsty for somebody.
I mean, this is the first time I think Kyle's ever said that, and so to relish this moment, I think you're right.
Yeah, you're right. You're not wrong.
I just can't believe it. But
I don't know. It was very nice to see it, and I mean, like, honestly, it even felt like Ro was trying to move on at the end, like by moving out.
Fucking finally,
in some degree. Well, okay, he did move out, but he also went to a specific university to say like, I'm getting an apartment here, so I'd be halfway between the university and you, Shinako, so you could still cook for me. And so I'm like, hey dude,
there's obviously still some growing to do. Like, I think with Haru and Ro both as characters, there's still some growth there that I think needs to happen.
Yes,
but
hopefully in Ro's part, he starts to grow out of those whole like gender roles thing that he was trying to push on Shinako.
Yeah, that was really toxic.
That was pretty bad. I love watching you cook. It's like, sorry.
Sorry, Zach. What was it?
I was gonna say, what was the butt that you were gonna say?
Oh, mine was just like, he was just not like, I guess not gender roles, just like the fact that like, I'm tough. Like, I don't know. Like that's the part I didn't like. It was like he threw tantrums a lot, and I just didn't like that.
If he was transported into another world isekai story, he would be perfect for it, because he is such a fucking edgelord.
You're right.
Yeah, you're right.
And he throws all these little tantrums if he doesn't get his way. Yeah, no, he's perfect.
Yeah. I don't know. I was at least glad to see Riko and Haru be able to move on.
Yes.
I really fucking wish that Shinako and Ro could have moved on, but they're still very much stuck in the past, and I fucking hate that. I'm still mad about that.
But so this is something we'll probably talk about a little bit in Kaguya, just to kind of think. I thought about this a little bit after reading some comments about this, and I guess this just happens to some people, like where you get stuck in like a position like where you like I guess you haven't grown as a person, or like, you know, whatever, maybe you're going through something. It's just you kind of get stuck in this position where like, so like I feel like we're seeing a story like halfway, right? Like there's obviously still more to this story afterwards, but we're not seeing it in anime form.
Yeah.
I think that's true though, Matt, because I've definitely had a lot of friends that like they're not only stuck in the relationship, they're stuck where they are in life, and that they just kind of exist in that. And it's one of those really unfortunate things that you see sometimes where you just have to be like, I mean, I'm moving on, so I gotta go. Sorry, man. And then you just never really see him again. It's like, it's kind of unfortunate. That does happen to people.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what happens in this story, is that Shineko and Ro get together, and it's probably not going to work, or one of them's going to move on, and it's still not going to work. And that's just the inevitability of that relationship, I think. And that happens. I think that happens a lot, and it's one of the first times I've actually, maybe it's the first time I've realized it, but this is the first anime that I really thought about that, and I was like, I guess everything that it seems obvious, like not everything has a happy ending, but this made me, I guess, realize it in a anime way, because I don't think a lot of romance anime really does it well, that everything's perfect, we're together now. They do that a lot.
Things are messier than that.
Yeah, and sometimes it is, and this obviously shows that things are not that clean cut a lot of the times. It's very, sometimes you get in a spot that may not, like, it might be better than the one you're in, or you might be the same one just with different armor, sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. When I say that I'm frustrated that Shineko and Ro didn't move on, I'm not saying that I think the story should have ended differently. When I say that, I'm like, I'm frustrated that for you as a character and for you as a person, like, you were not able to grow in the tenure of the show beyond that. But like, I understand that from a human experience kind of perspective, that makes perfect sense. And kind of like you say, Matt, you know, that's just kind of how this happens for some people. It makes sense. I don't think that there's any need to change the story, because stuff's messy, and, you know, not everything is going to go as we think it should. If everything went the way that we think it should, we wouldn't have messy, interesting, you know, things like this to look at.
Right.
So
I don't know, man. Like,
I don't know. This show made me think a lot. And like, just
I think it's a good show. I do think that because of our frustration, the pacing did suffer a little bit in the middle, but overall I think that this was a very, very enjoyable and good show.
Yeah, I think the ending episode was maybe a little too fast as well, but
it was a little rushy.
Yeah, so
it seemed like they focused a little too much on the middle, that they kind of ran out of time for the last episode.
It turns out the 18 episodes thing was a mistranslation, by the way. So thanks to whoever mistranslated that.
Yeah, there were like 6 bonus episodes or something like that, like things that aired after.
Yeah, they were like, so the 6 episodes there were like 6 ONAs that they put out as like little clips. I don't know who missed the nuance of that, but yeah, they messed up.
So, oopsie. Not an 18 episode series. Not a 1.5 core.
I'm also glad that this did get adapted to an anime, because I remember forever ago I tried to read the manga. Oh gosh, it's like, I don't think there's like a good translation of it. The only one that I could find is like a really shitty, I did this in my off time fan translation.
Oh, okay.
And it was so bad. I couldn't even get through like 2 chapters without just being like, no, that's fine. I'll just wait for the
I'd like to try to read it sometime. Like, I feel like there's a lot of baggage here that I would really get like enjoyment out of, but I don't know if I want to go through this whole Shineko thing again.
I think it would be interesting to see where the manga went, but I would wait until an official translation.
Yeah,
that's where the manga ends. The anime does the entirety of it.
Oh, does it really?
Well, sorry, I meant I think it would be interesting to see how the manga did it.
I would like to see the extra bits that maybe, and maybe that's what I'm thinking. Like, maybe the pacing was because of the anime. Maybe there's like extra manga bits, but they had to like push through the stories. So that's what it ended up being. And I don't know.
Yeah, possibly.
I don't know. Didn't read the manga, so guess I'll have to do that sometime.
Yeah, So just whatever.
Yeah.
It'd be what it be.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad. I feel so much better now that I got that out of my system.
Right?
Because, oh my gosh, I was writhing over that. So,
oh man,
that was a good release for me.
Yeah, we should end on a high note and get out of here talking about Kaguya-sama season 2.
Kaguya-sama.
Oh man.
By the way, okay, I'm gonna no, my turn.
I was just gonna say I'm glad we got a season 2. That's all.
Yeah, I'm especially glad we got a season 2.
Turn.
By the way, all these haters out here for Daddy Daddy Do, I hate all of you.
Daddy Daddy Do is good. I've come around to it.
It's pretty good.
It is pretty good. It's still not Love is War.
That's true.
It's pretty good.
I'll agree. But
yes.
I wanted to throw that out there first. Okay, let's continue.
No, yeah.
You said it's your turn. Is that all you wanted to say?
Yeah, that's all I wanted. I wanted to make sure that we got that out of the way.
About Daddy Daddy Do.
I love this mental image of just like us calmly passing the peace pipe, and he's just like, "No, it's my turn." And we're like, "All right, dude. Geez, whoa, chill. That's what the peace pipe's for." Like,
I thought you really had something like story.
No, I have stuff. But
I know you have stuff.
He had to get that out of his system.
I thought you felt really strongly about a plot point or something that you wanted to get out there.
we were just waiting for that. All right, it's my turn. Listen, you fuckers. Like,
oh my god.
No, okay. All right, okay, cool. Yeah, no, it's a good song.
So Kaguya-sama season 2 is, to put it lightly, fucking perfection. It's so good. We still have one episode left. I think
yes,
it's gonna air like 2 days from now.
Yeah, as of our recording.
I wish we could have got to wrap it up before this, but it is what it is. It started a week later than most everything else did.
And it's like the end of the second week of the season, so it's like blah. But I know that episode 12 isn't going to ruin the show, so that's my answer. Is that there's no way they can mess anything up. So.
Right.
And knock on wood.
Knowing the timeline of what happens in the series, nothing should really happen major.
Yeah.
So I would say that this is maybe the best sequel season for a series I've seen in a very long time. Because goddamn, dude, this kind of takes everything that the first season of Kaguya-sama did and refines it so much.
Yeah.
Because like, when the show's funny, it's gonna fucking kill you, and it has the added benefit of like having had a whole season to kind of flesh out some of these characters and get like their personalities and such out there, so we don't have to spend quite as much time like, you know, expositioning them and such. And like, not that the first season did that, but you know, there was a lot of like skits and funny goofs and such. And it took us a while to like really fully understand these characters. Mm-hmm. And so then coming into season 2, I felt pretty comfortable about this. And then I was like, hold up, motherfucker. How about we have a season full of funny, but we're also going to tell you some really heart-wrenching shit about all of our main cast. Yeah. How about we do that? You want to do that? And I'm like, no, but okay, that's fine.
I was in a hostage situation with this show, and I had to go along with it.
Yeah, like, I mean, I did not think that I would find myself almost crying laughing over a situation where Shirogane was, like, on top of Kaguya inside of, like, inside of, like, a warehouse shed, and I was about to piss myself laughing over that. But then also, several episodes later, I did not think in the same show I was going to be crying about the backstory of the fucking absolute, like, neat goblin that is Ishigami.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, like, where did that come from?
Holy fuck, dude.
Like, I was like, you could have done the whole show without that. I didn't even think that was going to be a thing, and then you made it a thing, and that was... What the fuck?
busted me up, man.
It's so incredible, too, because it brings a completely new context to his character, even for the first season. And you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it does. And it's just brilliant. Because kind of like we were talking with Kakushigoto, where some of the, harsher elements and some of the more dramatic elements made sense because of the characters they had already developed. Same with Kaguya-sama, because everything that happens with our core cast and all their backstories, like hearing those and seeing those things and then thinking back over the last 2 seasons, I'm like, oh, that unfortunately makes a lot of sense why they're like that now.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh, that fucking sucks. But at the same time, yeah, it brings an unbelievable layer of understanding for all these characters. And with the addition of Miko Ino as our new character in the student council, I thought that she was a great addition as well. And not only did we get a really fun, fleshed out, complex character with her, she also served to really flesh out the rest of the cast as well.
Yeah.
It's not just like, here's a new character, where a lot of comedy shows like this would just add another character. It's like, okay, well, there's one more in this fucking group of yeehaws. Like, she actually served as an element for developing the rest of the cast. And it's so fucking cool to see that. It's hard to find a show that adds a character into its cast and actually has a good reason for it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I will say... Oh, Matt, you go.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say, I will say, the only thing that I was upset about whenever it came to Miko is just that we didn't get more of her, because as it stands, a lot of her inclusions once she joined the student council was just as the gag character that walked in on just something sexual going on, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. But I thought it would have been a lot better if we had just gotten to see a little bit more of her, but that's just because of we didn't get enough episodes.
Yeah.
I wanted more.
Yeah, I think season 3, come on.
Yeah. Well, they'd be stupid to not give a season 3 for this right now.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
yes.
I'd watch
Like, it's gonna get a season 3. I don't want to use this as a metric to go by for the popularity, but this is ranked as the 22nd most popular series on Mao.
I see why. It's probably one of the more popular manga series right now, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's fucking incredible.
It's good. Yeah, so back to Ino. So, by the way, fun fact, you guys probably didn't know this. I didn't like her as a character when she was introduced. That probably comes to a surprise. A little bit. Maybe not.
I mean, they kind of
surprise me, honestly.
they did set her up to be this unappealing character until all of a sudden, even just a fourth of the way through the election arc, we suddenly realize, oh no, the main cast is the bad guys.
Yeah,
they're all being a bunch of bullies.
Yeah, so it was one of those instances where they started out, because we didn't really talk about this before, because I think they just introduced her in the first couple episodes, right? Maybe the fourth episode when we did the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was, her introduction was basically that she is this strict as hell, disciplinary committee person.
Strong stickler for the rules.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was just seeing that, and then having that election arc where I was like, oh, I don't like her character, and then, at least this was for me in particular, I was like, I don't really like her character, because that's just, you can't do that, can't just be that hard struck, but whatever. And then the election arc, and then it was, I think it was something that Ishigami said. He's like, guys, we can't do this. And he was just like, we gotta help her, because
I thought it was interesting because, yeah, the specific thing that he said is, he said, I want us to win by a landslide. And then it wasn't until later that he said, I want us to win by a landslide because she actually was able to do her best. Like, it was this weird switch where he was like, I still want us to win, but it's because she didn't embarrass herself, because I've been watching her like this whole time and I just felt bad. And I'm like, oh man, that's actually surprisingly heartfelt, Ishigami.
Yeah. And then, the whole election thing, like, after, like, the whole debate thing on the stage, I was like, okay, all right, you know what? Ino's okay. I'm like, I'm fine with this. This is...
They didn't get you at the part in which, you know, her mom and dad are never home because they have to take care of other people, and if people would just follow the rules, then my mom and dad would be there for me. That didn't get you, you monster.
I mean, that was there. But that's like, I was at the point where I was still on the fence. I was like, I mean, that's really sad. But, like, I don't know. It was just, that debate was the turning point for me.
Yeah.
And as you said, like, her introduction to the cast, though, was perfect. Because, and they managed to integrate her so, like, to get her into the student council, I mean. The whole election arc was done so well just to get her integrated into the story, because we hadn't really seen her before, right? Like, or unless I just
I think she pretty much...
she was only in the second season.
Yeah, she was only in the second season, and I think it was only like episode 4, because I think that's when the new students come in, and she was a part of the new students or something like that. She was a first year, and they were like wrapping up, being like, well, I guess that's the last year that we'll do this shit. And then it was after that point that we suddenly get introduced to this character.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Because the first, like, 3 episodes are, you know, trying to convince, you know, Shirogane to be the student council president again.
Yeah. Man,
yeah,
there's a lot that happened in this show, now that I think about it.
There's a fuck ton that happened this season.
Like, it's wild to say that, like, oh yeah, the arc in Kaguya-sama, and I'm like, what do you fucking mean? It wasn't a bunch of sketches this season? And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. There was some long-standing stuff that went down.
Yeah.
And it was interesting too, because it was still organized as all sketches, but it's just the sketches bled into each other and then suddenly became this like really emotional story. I was gonna say, Matt, that she is very much the she's very much the Azusa of this series, coming in second season here.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right. It is kind of similar to that.
Keion and Azusa, where she just shows up late, but then is a perfect addition to the cast.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Wow, I didn't think about that.
I also like that, like, once she actually is adopted into the main cast and in the student council with everybody else, we start to see the beginnings of her slow corruption, like the rest of the characters. Like, because they all started as, like, a little kooky, but trying to do the right thing, and then they all just fucking devolved from there.
They went off the rails.
and we just start to see the inklings of that with her.
Yeah. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
They're going... She doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah, this poor innocent being, she has no idea what evil soil she has been planted in.
She doesn't know what's coming.
Yeah. Although I think she's getting the idea now, because she's like, like, after the first couple of times with the gag, like you were talking about, she walks into the student council, she's like, I don't know what kind of curse shit's going on in here, but I'm out.
Literally, I died because after the first couple of times, what happens is the one where Ishigami has to wear the girl's uniform for the sports thing. Mm-hmm. And literally, instead of doing the same exact gag that they did where she comes in and she makes a big fuss, she literally opens the door and then it just cuts to, like, we see Ishigami in the foreground and her in the background, and she just shuts the door again.
Yeah. She looks like, I've learned.
Died.
I was like,
and she never comes back.
Yeah, and this is what makes Kaguya so good, because they've got the comedy down, Like,
Yeah.
it's like they managed to run the gag enough to make you think like what was going to happen without making you realize that the subversion was coming. Like that was so like the comedy is just so well, because sometimes anime is not very good at balancing the comedy, and they try to do the subversion, but the subversion's too late, or like they don't build up to the subversion. But Kaguya hit it perfect. It was like the perfect amount of times. But no
joke really ever stays its welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. That scene sticks out to my mind because I'm like, that's Kaguya, right?
Yeah,
there.
it was such a like you said, it was such a great subversion. It was such a smooth motion of her just open, pause, close.
Yeah.
Yep. It's like it makes me so excited for. And I'll just say the eventual third season, because again, I cannot imagine a future where there's not a third season of this.
Oh yeah,
and if Pictures would be fucking stupid to not.
And if I remember right, I think the manga is like up to 100 chapters now.
There's a lot of chapters.
It's definitely still going. They're still pounding away at it. So like they've got material for it.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of characters that, like, for example, like Shiragane's sister. Like, I just can't even believe like what's going on there. Like, it's amazing how they've turned like even the side characters into like characters now. Like they've really built this like Nichijou style sort of thing.
Yeah. And it's also great because like Shiragane's sister, instead of being a whole like 4D chess about love, it's just 4D chess about, can I say that I actually don't hate my brother?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
I love that so much.
Okay, look, like Shiragane's sister is great and all, but like, can we talk about Shiragane's dad?
Yes.
Can we talk about him
yes,
just like real quick, and how he like, you know, tricked Kaguya into saying all this wonderful shit about Shirogane because he was like, so you're the student council vice president, huh? President's kind of a piece of shit, isn't he? Just having her say all sorts of stuff. And
she was like, who do you even think you are?
And he's just like, what is the student council president to you? Who is he to you? Just when she's really about to finally go off the deep end, Shirogane goes and is like, Dad, why are you talking? Oh God!
Oh no!
Oh God, Dad, what did you say to her? Why are you talking to her? What are you doing? No!
It was also really great how he showed up too, because like that scene shows that he's actually a clever bastard. But then the very previous scene was like Shirogane getting warmed up for his event as part of the sports fest, and all of a sudden a dude just opens up a beer in the middle of a school campus.
Up a cold one.
And it's just like, hey, how you doing, son?
Like that, like, oh my gosh. By the way, that particular scene with Kaguya and Shiragane's dad, I felt like I'd actually seen that somewhere before. Like, as a person.
Oh.
I feel like I could actually, like, I don't know if I've just, like, pseudo-experienced it, but I feel like that's something I've seen happen somewhere, but...
Yeah, I kind of had that same reaction. I was deeply uncomfortable by the whole scene because like it was funny as fuck, but I was like, I feel like somehow attached to this scene, and I don't know why. Like it feels like deja vu.
Yeah, I was like,
some adults just like playing you straight, and you have no idea.
Yeah, that was a good scene, and then Hayasaka.
Oh my
god. Like I can't, like I could name a million examples of just like characters in this show that I didn't think needed development, but when they got the development it was worth it.
Oh, she's fucking perfection.
She's so good.
When she just goes in and is like, okay, you know what, Kaguya? I'll fucking seduce him. I'll seduce Shirogane right under your nose. Give me 24 hours. I'll fucking do it.
And Kaguya's just like, I'd like to see you try. And then she's like, all right.
Just quick side note. I just love how petty Kaguya is sometimes. She's so... She's so good.
She's such a fucking petulant child.
It's amazing.
I am not in
adore
love,
her.
Doctor. I have no idea what you're talking about. I need a second opinion. But
She's so
Kaguya,
adamant that I almost believe her sometimes, and then I'm like...
But Kaguya, he's the world's best doctor. I don't think you need a second opinion.
She's so fucking stupid. Oh my god.
Oh, she's so good too. But yeah, the whole Hayasaka arc, that was so great. And then the emotional payoff of that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I also say, just like season 1, we got plenty of great Chica moments.
Yeah, Chica was fun.
She had a lot of great moments, and she still stayed so true to her character, and I loved that. Particularly, I loved where, like, you have Ishigami and Shirogane and Kaguya, and they're all, like, just, after they read a fuck ton of shoujo manga, they're stuck in, like, shoujo mode. And then out of nowhere, Chica's just like, burp. Anyways, hey guys, what's going on? And just, like, breaks the whole fucking scene.
Yeah, that was something
It was
else
very
too.
good.
That, and when she has to teach Miyuki to
Do anything.
sing, and then to do that dance for the
Soya
sports
dance
festival.
And she still has
my
PTSD
God.
from volleyball.
And she's like, I'm not gonna fucking do this again.
She's like, I'm done.
not doing this again.
I'm done
and-
with you. Like, no, we're not doing this again. I'm tired of this. I can't take it anymore. You teach
But then-
yourself.
She's like,
Yeah, but
like,
then
what do
as
you
soon
mean
as
you can sing? You can't sing. You fucking lied to me.
you're a
was
liar.
awful.
You keep lying.
She said, I can't even remember what she said. Like, you sound like something. And it was one of the most savage fucking things she could have possibly said. And I hate it that I can't remember it.
She said two things. She was like, I thought when you said that you can kind of sing, that it would at least be the excrement of a sea sponge. But I don't remember what she said that was even more brutal than that. Because she was like, I thought it was going to be the excrement from a sea sponge, but then you turned out to be... And then she said something else, and it was like even fucking worse.
Yeah, it was...
I also massively enjoy that, like, Chika, upon learning that Kaguya is now teaching him the dance, is just like, oh, do go on, sensei. You fucking trash.
Yeah. She is the embodiment of petty.
Yeah.
That was... There's just... This is
There's
why the
so
show's
much.
good.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
so much.
There's so much.
There-
Like... And then the whole Ishigami thing, like, that just ripped me to pieces. So
I know,
that...
His backstory was like too emotional. I was not prepared for it.
I was like, yeah, that was just so crazy. I'd never even thought of, like, just him having that kind of backstory.
Yeah, I know. And, him being this, young dude full of a sense of justice and everything else and being very extroverted and having this one traumatic experience, understandably, make him not want to deal with anyone. And then his character makes perfect fucking sense. And why he's so cynical about everything.
Yeah.
Like, I trusted Kaguya-sama as a series to do well in terms of its story and its character development, but Jesus Christ, like, I did not go into this season expecting it to go as hard as it did, and to, like, so completely flipped some of the script for how the show's approached tonally, because, like, I would have happily had just another season 1. I would have happily just had more Goose with the gang, but blending that with really sincere development of its cast, oh my god, man,
that's just so solid. Like, I could not have asked for anything more.
No.
It also
I
makes
feel spoiled by it.
It was too good for us. We didn't deserve it. It also makes me just feel like an absolute piece of shit for every time that I laughed at him for being a punching bag in season 1.
Yeah.
Every time that he just like, well, I guess girls don't like me, and just like walks out of the room, and I'm like, ha ha, loser, and then I'm like, oh fuck, I was the loser all along.
Yeah, and like, I think what really got me about that was this whole like adamant thing of not writing that apology letter. Because
Oh, dude, that was so good.
I mulled over this a little bit because I was like, what would I have done? Like, and I was like, I don't know if I would have just not written the letter. You know, like,
yeah, because it was tough for me too. Because I was like, I genuinely don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah. Back to what I was kind of saying about yesterday, it's like I tried to put myself in that situation, and it was like, that's such a tough situation. Like,
right.
So, but I completely, it's, by doing that, I understood, like, the amount of, like, you know, not the pain, I guess, that you go through that, but just the emotional trauma that kind of experience can cause. And just, like, in the way that he, you know, was reacting to that, it was so well done.
Yeah.
And then the whole, like, I think what really got me about that though was the ending of that, like where the cheer team was talking to him. I was like, and he realizes that like he comes to this realization of like, oh, they're just, you know, they're normal people too, like they just like, and he was having that sort of like bonding moment that he hadn't had in a while. And it was, I don't know, like that was just so good.
It was very cathartic and really beautiful to see him coming out of his shell in such a sincere way, and in a way that, like, and it's weird to say, but I really felt proud of him.
Yeah.
Like, and it's wild to me, but I'm like, I really genuinely felt proud of him as a character and as a person, and I was like, oh my god, bud, good for you. I'm so glad you've got to this point.
Yeah, he definitely, it's clear that he had some kind of growth happening, and that was good.
It was also so wonderful to not only see him personally growing, but also seeing the people around him and the cheer squad like genuinely like enjoying him and really appreciating him as a person and who he is rather than his past.
Yes.
And so like it was a very is it Funeno wo Amu? What is the name of that movie?
Which one?
Silent Voice. It was a very Silent Voice moment whenever he finally like opened his eyes and he could actually see everybody's eyes. And I was like, that hits me. That hits me hard. It was so good.
It was a beautiful detail.
Yeah, that was so good.
Yeah.
It's just, I can't even imagine what the last episode's gonna do.
I don't know.
I can't even imagine. Like, maybe it might just be nothing. But you know what? I don't think that would even bother me. Like,
no, yeah.
Like this season just kicked so much ass. I don't care what it does to it.
Yeah.
I don't care. Because I know and I expect it's going to be fucking great.
Yeah.
Like,
the possibility of it not being great just doesn't even register with me.
And the most bonkers thing to me is, like, of all of, like, the emotions that we get and all of the great character development and everything like that, this is a fucking gag show. What the fuck? Like,
and this is like a gag skit show. Yeah.
Yeah, it even separates its episodes with the individual names for each gag. Like, it's crazy to me that this has become the show that it is.
Yeah, it's truly the I don't know the word, but just the difference between season 1 and season 2 is just not anything I could have even imagined. I said I was going to like this series, but I adore this series. Like, this, I could watch this the rest of my life and be okay.
I know. That's the thing. I want to see this continue to get season after season after season. I will watch this as long as they put this out.
Yeah, I'm all right with this
I
being
don't
my
fucking
20-year
care.
Simpsons. Like, just go at it, man.
Yeah, this is fine. And with it being as popular as it is, I get the feeling it's going to be around for a bit.
Yeah.
Really hope so.
Me too. Knock on wood. Because, I mean, like, you know, there's plenty of series that haven't got additional seasons.
Yeah,
But,
I suppose.
you know.
But here's hoping.
This is such a fucking phenomenon. I'd be astonished otherwise.
So,
Whew.
Good season, boys.
Yeah, I would definitely say that was the highlight we needed to end this on.
yeah, that was. I mean, this season was great.
Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff, and I mean, like, there were some pretty good shows that, like, we didn't really get around to talking about. Like, Gleitner ended up being such a fucking fun ride, and I mean, like, there's one episode left, but I did not expect to get as invested in it as I did. Same thing with Eighth Son. I loved the shit out of Eighth Son. I love the ending to it. I love the whole thing. I would actually watch a second season. Just so much good stuff this season. But
And
I'm
a bunch
glad
of
we got...
a bunch of good ones that are just being moved to the next season, so we'll get to catch up with them.
Yeah, that's true. Man, could you imagine if, like, they have all, like, think about this, right? If you look at the
Initially,
season as
all
a-
of these were coming out.
Think
yeah.
about it. You had ReZero, Yahari, and then, you know, Ampara Ranman, and then you had Billionaire Detective, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
You have there's 4 shows right there that all probably would have been pretty good that were also slated to be in this season, on top of everything we just talked about.
Yeah.
It would have been
That would have been
so
much.
So I am, all things considered, very glad that going into the summer season, we're going to be getting all those things now. Summer's going to be packed.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be like, it is slated to be a little bit lighter than, you know, past summer seasons have been for obvious reasons. But at the same time, we've got a lot of heavy hitters coming.
Yeah, there's no lack of heavy-handedness in terms of content.
Yeah, it'll be a hell of a thing. But honestly, for what we still have here, I could not be happier with the spring season. This was just so good. We didn't even get to talk about, like, Tower of God either, which, holy fucking shit, if you didn't watch it, you're doing a disservice to yourself.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch it. I'm sad.
Yeah.
Damn.
Spring kicked ass, dudes.
Yeah. This is how you do a spring season. Take notes, 2021.
Yeah, just, you know, have a worldwide pandemic, get a bunch of your shit delayed, and then distill it down to the best stuff that you've got.
That's not quite what I meant, but...
We'll just do that for every spring season. Thank you, Matt. I'm glad that we know now.
I'm definitely not saying that to have a repeat. Do not take that as what I meant. But yeah, I had a blast. Like,
Yeah.
that was great. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Yeah, contextually speaking, I will fondly look back on this season.
Yeah.
Oy. Well, I guess next up is going to be our beginning of summer 2020 cast. So
Yep.
Yeah. So
hold on tight, because that's right around the corner.
yeah, it'll
So.
spring 2020 Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, so definitely tune in for the Yahari and ReZero takes that are going to happen.
Oh God, yeah. Come on in for the season of suffering. Yeah. I guess we'll catch you all for that when it comes around here soon.
Yeah.
So
See
take
ya.
care until then.
Yep. Bye.
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 Thanks for listening. As always, you can find all our podcast, articles, videos, etc. at thebacklogers.com. Our intro-outro song is The Bear by A Shell in the Pit, who you can find on Spotify as well as Bandcamp. And we'd love to hear from you all either in the comments on our site or any feedback you want to leave us on whatever podcast platform you like. iTunes, SoundCloud, or just leave it in a box marked with our ages for us to cry over later. And as always, we're on Twitter at @the_Backloggers, so pull up a log and stop by for a bit. Thanks for listening.